Yes, right.
Go here where you are.
Yeah, it's very warm. It has been for the last few days. In fact, probably since we spoke last week, it's been really nice. And I'm not sure if that's just a good luck thing after speaking to you guys, but we've had weirdly warm weather in Glasgow, and I'm pretty sure you guys have got it down where you are because you're not far at all. And yeah, it's bizarre for a March though, to be getting like 18 degrees, which for a lot of people probably listening from all over the world will be like, what the hell, that's really cold.
Yeah.
But when you live in our climate, literally when I was coming to my office just now, there was a guy walking around with no top on. And that's what happens in Glasgow. You see a bit of sunshine, the barbecues are out, the tops are off, and it's fun to see though, because we don't see much sunlight up here. So
100%. Yeah, absolutely. Well, us Geordies are well known for never wearing a coat anywhere, even in the bitter winter. So yeah, I would imagine there's a few topless men walking around Newcastle today as well. Long may it last, eh?
yeah.
So I guess, I mentioned SEO before being a bit of a dark art, and I'm hoping that, we can really kind of clear that up today and give our marketers some real kind of guidance on how we go about that and set that record straight. But before we get started with that, it would be wonderful if you would just tell us a little bit about yourself, Craig, your story, your backstory, and how you got to where you are today.
So as you have kindly said, my name's Craig. I'm based in Glasgow and have been in this industry for 20, 21 years, whatever it may be. I've started to lose count because I just feel old as hell now. So it started out probably around about the year 2000, 2001 as a really bad web designer. Now, I always put this down to my age. So growing up as a kid, I had no internet, no phone, no nothing. So when I was leaving school, like 1997 and stuff, when the internet was coming out, I was like mind blown by the internet. Just playing around in the internet, looking at Google Earth, just doing the basic things like chatting to girls in MSN, all that kind of good stuff, and loved the internet. Became a bit of a hermit, if you like, just playing in the internet all the time. And I had a few dead-end jobs, sales jobs, call centre jobs, all the usual crap. Wasn't really going anywhere anytime fast. Left school with no education and didn't really know what I wanted to do. So just bumming around a few jobs and, the internet and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know why. Somehow I thought it might be good to try out some websites and stuff because it was all new to me. And I really started to enjoy playing around and learning HTML and all this kind of stuff. Now, I was pretty bad at it, I'm not going to lie, and found that a real struggle. I was making websites, but they were taking me 10 times longer than they ever should have. So then found, how to market a website. I was on forums and all this kind of stuff and started to learn SEO, which I started to find a little bit easier. And messed around. There wasn't YouTube videos. There was crappy little courses, which were just big PDFs. And it probably took me a few years to kind of find my feet and try to understand what I was doing. And along the way, I had people saying, can you do this for me? Can you do that for me? Blah, 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 blah. So got up to about 2006. So I worked in the house for probably 3 or 4 years as a freelancer in the bedroom. Really had no clue what I was doing and just taking people's money and trying to figure things out, as we all do at the start. 2006, I started to go through a lazy routine where I was sat watching Jeremy Kyle, couldn't be bothered doing any work, all the usual stuff. So I decided I need to get an office, just a very small office. So got the office and decided that I needed a sales guy. And my sales guy came in. We're literally sitting in an office where we could smell each other's breath. It was that bad. And from there, his thing was just to sell to people in Yellow Pages, tell them that Yellow Pages sucked, we could do better, come to us for a website, blah, 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 blah. Started selling, had to hire a web developer, blah, blah, blah. Years went on. Before I knew it, I had content writers and all this kind of stuff, and I had formed an agency that I still didn't really know what I was doing, certainly not as a businessman. But I ran that agency for about 9 years, and still, I made a lot of mistakes, didn't hire the right people, didn't have the right processes in place, wasn't really good as a businessman, and centered everything around me. I was a bit of a control freak, so before any content went on the website. I had to see it first. It was me that was adding it to the website and all this stuff. So I really struggled to scale the agency. I had 17 staff at one point, and and I was getting a high turnover, but it was quite stressful. You were scared that 2 clients dropped out or didn't pay in time, and your whole operation basically fell like a pack of dominoes. So it was very stressful and stuff, and I found it too stressful and decided to hell with this. I'm struggling to scale any further, and decided to I had a client along the way, dental client, and he went from 1 surgery to 5 surgeries in like a 5-year period. And he says to me, he took me in his office one day and says, Craig, I'm selling up, I'm going to retire effectively. And he said, I'll put a word in for you with a new guy and all that stuff. And I'm like, thanks. And then he says, you're the stupidest bee that I've ever seen. He says, this is madness. And I'm like, what? How does this work? And he says, I can't believe you've made me so much money and you're still working for clients. He says, you have to do something for yourself, make your own money. He says, you've got these skills, you shouldn't be working for clients. He says, it's criminal. And that really struck something in my head going, he's right, he's off ski with millions of pounds and I'm not. So started to think wisely and tried to figure my way out of doing the agency thing. And obviously I did a good few conversations with myself telling me how much of a bad agency owner I was and shit at business and this, that, and the next thing. And I realized the biggest problem I had was myself, my own ego, and scared to delegate and didn't trust anyone and all this kind of stuff. So wanted to go down the route of owning my own projects, do SEO for me. I'm my own client. And started to do that through affiliate marketing, drop shipping, e-com, all that stuff. And they do a lot of buying and selling online businesses these days. And still doing SEO, but I am my own client. I have eliminated the middleman, which is the usual type of clients. And I have a much more relaxed life. And I do delegate now. I've wiped out all of the mistakes I made along the way, including my own self. I took myself out of being in the middle of the business and working on the business, and all of these small little things. So that is pretty much my journey, and I've got to where I am, but it has been a long, painful, stressful, and very poor journey along the way as well. People are going, you're turning over so much money, and I'm like, dude, I'm shitting my pants. That money goes out every Friday paying people, and it's horrible. It is really, really bad. And I don't think a lot of people see that side of it. Everyone's happy to say, I've got 10 staff or I've got this and all of this stuff, and they make it all seem as if life is good. And it's really not. You're just stressed that you can't pay people on a Friday. And that would kill me if I couldn't do that. Luckily, it always managed to work out when I had the agency, but there was a few days where I'm just like, oh shit. So that was my short path, but there's a lot of other funny stories along the way, but we're limited by time. So don't want to waffle on too much.
That's such an amazing story and so honest. Thank you for sharing that with us. And I can totally resonate. I'm an agency owner on the other side as well, so it's it's great fun. It's we know it's hard graft. And I guess just before we get into the questions, Craig, just a little bit of interest about how you taught yourself SEO. How did you become to be such a specialist, and did that happen organically along the way, or did you have a real passion for SEO specifically and therefore you've just self-taught? What's been your method about that?
So I'm completely self-taught, as are most SEO, well, every SEO, because there is no real actual place that's current and up to date. So because it's always evolving. So you are kind of self-taught. I just as a youngster, I was really bad at everything, in terms of studying at school and all that. I really had no direction, and SEO was the one thing that somehow just have a horrible, hungry desire for. I love it, and I love, gadgets and even as a kid, I loved having the VHS video player and tape recorder, tape cassette player and all that stuff. I've always liked gadgety things, and I love automation and tools and all that kind of stuff. So it was just pure luck. I never sought out to be an SEO or anything. I was just thinking, can I make money online, and took the easier route, or what I think was the easier route, because I was really bad at web design, and the SEO thing just kept evolving and evolving. And even when I had my agency, there was a point where I stopped doing web design as an agency. I just wanted to fully focus on what I was good at, which was SEO. And so it kind of just evolved over time. And even now, I'm still hungry for the latest tools, the latest tricks, the latest cheats. And it's just in my nature. I like to understand mechanically how things work. And, I think with SEO, because it is always changing, there's always something new, that keeps it going. And as I say, I've got a private mastermind that I've got, and, I educate a lot of people who own agencies and stuff like that. And even on a Sunday, these guys are like arguing what's the best tool and stuff like that. So a lot of SEOs seem to be, they're weird. Like they really do love SEO. It's not about what time of day it is, or I'm not talking at the weekends or anything. These guys are fucking animals, and they're fighting over this, that, and the next thing. No, I've tried that. That was dog shit, and all this stuff. And you see it, and you're just like, whoa, man, these guys are nuts. It's 7 o'clock on a Sunday morning. Why are you not hungover or, chilling in bed, having a long lie? So I think most of the successful SEOs I know, it's not just a job for them. It is literally a passion. And for me, that's certainly the case. I just love it. And I think, if you enjoy what you're doing for a job, then it's not really a job as such. You start to think, oh, fuck it, the money, whatever, it is what it is. So yeah, that's it. And it's all self-taught just along the way, meeting, networking with people, going to conferences, buying courses, watching. And now I can consume a lot of content through YouTube and Facebook and all that. But when I was starting, that stuff wasn't available. So it's a lot easier now, and the process can work a lot faster for guys now. But yeah, for me before, I'm much more of a visual learner, or I'd rather be sat with someone or having a face-to-face conversation with someone. And I think I pick up stuff a lot more from that. And yeah, it's just years and years and years of consuming loads of content and meeting the right people. And I've been fortunate enough to be able to blag my way onto stages and stuff, and again, you're surrounded by really successful people, so you're always picking up little nuggets. So even now, every day is a learning day still, and I think the minute you think you're the be all and end all of the world and you're the best, this is the day that you should probably quit it. So a lot of people say, oh, he's talking in this stage in Dubai. I mean, it's frightening, just the conversation you're having with other speakers and the levels they're at, and you're just like, whoa, I feel like a peasant compared to some of these monsters. So that always just gives me that little bit of hunger to say, nah, I do well for myself, but if there's someone doing better, I'm like, nah, I want some of that as well, So I've just got a hungry desire to win and grow, not necessarily to run around in Bugattis or anything, but the way I see it now is there's cash on the table here in this industry to be made, and I'm going to grab as much of it as I possibly can for my family, and hopefully to have early retirement and things like that. And that's not a bad passion to have. There's definitely lots of money on the table.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, the key things that have come out there are absolutely what makes marketers the very best they can be, whatever their specialism, or whether they're, generalist marketers, but just that drive and that ambition to be the best, but also that hunger for learning, because no matter what you're in marketing, you can never learn too much. You will never know it all. I mean, it's never in reach to have that golden nugget of, I've finally made it, I've got it, I know everything. So, I think that comes through. And obviously the passion for what you do, Craig, is, well, we can see that, we can already see that, and we haven't even got into any of the specific questions yet. So let's get stuck in with these. So I guess, thinking about who our audience are here, there will be loads of them that are familiar with SEO, but probably, like lots of us, are a little bit unsure about the effect of SEO, how to go about it. Is it as important as paid? I mean, there's always a struggle around budget, isn't it, in terms of where do you put budget, over the quick wins, over the long-term gains. Just take us right back to the beginning and talk us about the importance of SEO, and when it's done properly, what type of value can that bring to a business?
I mean, it's organic search is still far and away by far the most long-term strategy that you can get, the most cost-effective strategy you can get. Some people ignore paid ads. Now, I'm not dismissing paid ads or any other type of marketing strategy, but organic SEO, people do search for things, whether that be in a local level and whether you appear in the map pack, or whether it's a nationwide search for SEO training and you know, your audience is UK wide or worldwide. You know, people do search for you and consume a lot of your content. And you know, do they click in paid ads? I know people who think paid ads are a scam, or someone the audience knows that that's potentially you know, someone who's paid to be there. So you know, that this is just through conversations with people. I don't have statistics on it. So organic search is really you know, it's an important thing, and not just from an SEO perspective, because anyone I'm advising, I would say try and have traffic coming from multiple sources, you know, including social media, which is why I do a lot of YouTube. So I'm not saying SEO is the best and you have to do it, blah, 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 blah. Genuinely, organic, you can have 1 million clicks a month and it doesn't cost you any more than your marketing budget. Whereas if you were doing pay-per-click or paid social, you're paying per click. So organic search still is really, really effective. And even when I was in Dubai, it was Affiliate World, the conference was called, and I was only one of 2 SEO speakers. Most of these people were media buyers. They were basically buying traffic in the dating niche, the casino niche, and all that kind of stuff. Now, when I showed them what I was doing and the amount of traffic I was able to generate through pure organic, these people were mind blown. So people out there who do great social media just often ignore SEO. People who do paid ads sometimes ignore SEO, and so on. And if you really want to maximize your revenue, traffic, and everything else that comes with it, then you've got to look at all of them. And as I say, the only downside when you're talking to clients and stuff is paid can happen overnight. You set up a campaign, traffic starts coming. Organic SEO takes a little bit longer and it's a little bit more tedious and so on, but the long-term benefits of that are there. And, you know, that is essentially an important part of the mix. Why wouldn't you want any of that traffic? And in particular, certainly, you know, for local businesses and stuff, why wouldn't you want to rank on the map pack? The amount of traffic for people looking for plumbers, builders, whatever you may do is frightening. And if you don't do your SEO on there, you're missing a hell of a lot of traffic. So, you know, it's always been the same. And obviously pay-per-click, social media and everything's evolved over the years, and the technology behind it, retargeting and everything is amazing. But still to this day, people are still ignoring SEO, and it's so bad. And then when I talk at conferences, I've got all these big players. Can you teach me this? Can you train me that? Can you do this? Can you do that? I want to take it in-house. You know, we need to be doing this stuff. You know, I've made an absolute killing in my career just from SEO. I don't really focus on paid. I do focus in social, but so it works, and that's it. You know, people search you as a person, search for stuff. You know, whether that be Adidas trainers or whatever the hell you're searching for, you're looking for that stuff, and that's just the way the world's going. So it's stupid to ignore it. It's a massive, massive amount of traffic. And if you do your keyword research, you'll see what you're missing out on, because you can see the monthly search volumes for these things.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's so interesting, you know, and it's, I think it's so frustrating, I guess, still for marketers that there isn't more of you in the world, because SEO is such an important part of the, you know, your marketing strategy, but there is no, as we said before, no formal training around kind of where to start with this and how to go about it. And, you know, like, I guess you and I, Craig, our backgrounds have been get stuck in, figure it out along the way, you know, learn from mistakes, do things better. But, you know, for marketers, the value that you will bring now in terms of teaching that will be, you know, will be amazing. We just need to, well, you won't want us to duplicate you 1 million times, but we might like that. So
listen, the thing is, see, you think that now a lot of SEOs are secretive in terms of what they do and stuff like that, and you're scared that someone does duplicate you. There's so many niches out there that you don't need to worry about that. Like, I've got loads of friends in the SEO industry, and prior to getting out there and all that kind of stuff, I was also scared. I'm like, I'm not going to talk to this guy because he might steal what I'm doing and all this kind of weird stuff. There's so many niches, so many countries. all of that kind of stuff. You do not have to be scared that someone's going to jump into your niche. And that was something that I struggled to get my head around at the start as well, because I was like, oh, I'm not telling anyone anything. But also, see if I can show a slide. Give me a second. Can I share my screen? I don't know if it will allow me, but let's try it.
Could do.
Yes, it's allowing me. And I'm not doing this to show off in any way, shape or form. Now, this was one of my slides from Dubai on one of my websites that I've got. Now, you'll be able to see the date is the 11th of January to the 11th of February. That's 1 month's revenue for one of my websites through SEO. So, and believe you me, I am not making the most money. When I was in Dubai, there was guys doing 20 million a month, but they were buying a lot of traffic. Now, my argument here was, there's a dude out there, saying I make 20 million a month. He probably spent 19.9 million in paid ads and all that kind of stuff. He was making a very small amount of profit. Whereas if you do this organically, and now it did take time for me to get there, that's a website I built up over 7 years. And I was able to get to that, which is why I was asked to speak, because I'm talking about organic SEO and the benefits of it. And can you still make money doing this? And the answer is very much yes, you can. And obviously I was telling people about how I went about that particular project, some of the tricks I've done along the way, some of the mistakes I made and all that stuff. But that, obviously I can't give that whole talk out because the Dubai people have the signed a contract not to give that whole talk out. But I just wanted to show that slide purely to show people you can make a lot of money through organic search. And as I said, that's not all profit. I've got overheads, I've got staff, I've got all sorts of stuff to pay for, including what I actually sell, which is gaming codes. So not all of that money's mine, but hey, that's purely turnover, guys. So do not sit there going, fuck, he makes that and it's all in his back pocket, because my overheads would also make your eyes water.
But it does demonstrate well. It certainly demonstrates the power, the impact that SEO can have, without a doubt, Craig. It's brilliant. So what's the best place to get started with SEO? So if we've got somebody on the call who's watching the webinar and they're like, right, I'm into this, where do I get started? What are the top tips and where do you go?
So what the top tip I would give you is, don't listen to too many people. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say you only have to listen to me or anything like that. I'm not going to plug myself. You can either listen to me or don't. That's your choice. But what I was guilty of in the past was consuming too much content from too many people. And because it worked one way for that guy, and some of the stuff he was saying was then contradicting what this other guy was saying, I was all confused and I started going around in circles. I didn't know whether I was coming or going. Now, I think, there's a lot of free content out there. Certainly the likes of my YouTube channel, I've broken everything up, into different playlists, where if you want to do local SEO in the map packs, there's a full playlist for that. If you want to do link building, there's a full playlist for that. So my YouTube and many others, not just me, there's many others out there who provide amazing value on YouTube. But do note that most people are not going to lay it all on a plate for you. There will be gaps in the information. Some of the information can become outdated, and those tactics no longer work in certain instances because SEO is changing and the goalposts move, from month to month, it seems at times. So when you're consuming content, it doesn't mean what you're consuming is always 100% accurate, but I certainly think consuming that content and getting a better understanding of how many things, what's involved in each of the different things that you do is an important step. And you do want to, there's lots of free content out there. People do go to training providers, and rather than sit and consume a whole bunch of content, you can get a guy in or go on Zoom and basically say, right, here's my business strategy. What do you think? And I might say, right, you're not really going to be doing GMB stuff, so that's not going to really work for you. So we need to focus on this, and this. and what works for your business. So sometimes that's a great option to cut away a lot of the shit that's not relevant for you. There's no point in me teaching you how to do GMB stuff if you're never going to use it. You know, I'll be able to focus on what works. So there are people there that can tailor the training to suit you and your business and what you're trying to achieve. And you know, there's loads of guys out there who can do that as well. And just all I would say is do your research. Make sure that these guys can provide the flip side of this is I see so many guys who've got 1 or 2 years experience in SEO and they're then wanting to be a teacher, and you're just like, dude, you can't be a teacher. You don't have that level of expertise. So be very, very careful and ask the person to, you know, provide something. They don't need to provide you chapter and verse of their life story or show you bank statements or anything, but you know, try and get a grasp on some of the work they've worked on and whether they're credible, because there's a lot of bullshitters in this industry. And, you know, I would probably go as hard as saying 90% of people are talking absolute nonsense or making this stuff sound far more difficult than it really needs to be. Don't know why they would do that, but that was one thing I took from learning along the way. I'm like, fuck, you know, I've went round in so many circles and been misled, and I've been lied to, and I've been robbed for courses. I've had everything, and I'm like, why? Just why do people do that? There's no need to. You know, when I do my kind of training and stuff like that, I can still make money from it. And, you know, you're paying not for time, you're paying for the expertise. I've been able to shave years off of people's learning curves by just cutting out the crap and, you know, going in very, very direct. And SEO isn't, you know, people think it's a dark art. It's not. You know, some of the things are, you know, you need hard work and determination. You need to listen. You need to be open-minded about how things evolve. You need to be open to learning as you go, open to change as you go, and all these kind of things. And these are skills that you need. You need to be kind of, I don't know, flexible. You know, some people are very rigid when they learn. They stick to it. They don't deviate. Oh, Craig said that last year. Things change in this industry, even for me. So you need to have that, being able to read in between the lines and all that kind of stuff. And I think from there, if you're kind of, you know, trying different wee things out and all that kind of stuff, it just makes you a much better SEO. But take what you can for free, and then you can potentially hire a mentor or just someone to train you. Whatever, you know, it's whatever suits your requirements. You know, I've got a mastermind, and again, I'm not here to plug that at all. But the mastermind is for agency owners who just like someone to bounce ideas off of now and again. So we've got a little group, and they'll say, what do you think about this? Or I've seen that, and we can say, no, that's bullshit. You know, don't do that, do this. And, you know, so there's a lot of value in, even for me, being in these groups, and I still pay for courses as well. You know, if someone's doing a new YouTube thing or whatever, I'm like, boom, I'm buying that. So it's constant. The learning curve is constant, but you start to pick up who the bullshitters are and who's not. And if it seems too good to be true, don't buy it. You know, it's one of those things. And there's a lot of people out there selling course after course after course. And it's madness. You know, I give away all my courses for free now. I did sell them previously, but I you know, I don't really need to sell them. It's more about brand awareness for me. And giving back to the community and trying to help people on the right path. So there's a lot of good people like myself out there who do that as well, but you've just got to be careful who you follow.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. And I guess it's, you know, it is finding out the people who are, you know, who've got a commercial mind only and are just there to share knowledge, no matter whether they've tested it, tried it, lived it, breathed it, but they've just picked it up from somewhere and, you know, will throw it at you. And I guess this is probably why it's got a bit of a reputation of a black art, because for so many years, you know, SEO was made so complex. You know, it really was, you know, trying to, and people who taught SEO purposely always made it feel like that. And so I think there was a bit of scaremongering around paying specialist prices for their, you know, their time to be able to share this, you know, inside secret or this really, you know, scientific approach to it. And it's great to be breaking down some of those barriers and being able to really, you know, allow generalist marketers to be able to dive into it and get their hands stuck in and start to learn as they go. I guess, you know, link building, obviously, we know is a huge part of SEO. What is the best way to go about building valuable links?
Common question. This depends on what niche you're in and how aggressive you need to go. So when you read it, and I'm just trying to be the cautious guy here. So when you read about link building, there'll be some guys that work in the casino industry who are wild and really aggressive with their link building. That won't be the case for a lot of you guys. Links are links. No matter what way you look at it, a link's a link, and it's going to help your website. You want links from good quality, relevant websites pointing to yours. So whether that be in the press, which I would call digital PR, you can hire a PR or do PR yourself, reach out to journalists, all of that kind of stuff. That's probably the cleanest, simplest way to do it. And it's not going to, reaching out to journalists is not going to get you a whole bunch of relevant links, but it's going to get you a lot of powerful links. You do need that mix of relevant links as well. Whether that's jumping in a webinar like this today, I might get a link, I might not. But I know certainly from speaking at things and doing interviews with people, even not just necessarily interviews like this, but people will ask questions for a blog. These are all things that you can do for sheer relevance. Getting other marketing people to link to you, for example, would be the thing to do. You do also have the ability to buy guest posts out there. Now, a lot of people, or Google themselves, will say, don't buy guest posts, don't buy links, can't do this, can't do that. It's not entirely true. Everyone's buying guest posts. If I want a link on a marketing website, I can pay $100 for it and get whatever I want on there. I can write the article, they can write the article. It's totally optional, and I can put on that article, Craig's the wonderful SEO guy and the best trainer and all that stuff, and put that out there and link to my own website, whatever. And guest posts is another common way of doing that. And the reason that you have to kind of go down that route is a lot of people say you have to do outreach and reach out to people and all that stuff. Now, when you reach out to people, no one's going to answer you. The reality is, unless it's some, very, very low level person who isn't very busy. But anyone who's got anything that's credible or powerful isn't going to reply to your cold email saying, give me a link, please, unless you offer something of value, whether that be free content, a free video, get them on your webinar, whatever it might be. So it's got to be worthwhile for both parties. So if you're not spending money, you need to do something to make that person want to talk to you and negotiate with you. So you can do outreach, but you have to make it valuable for the person providing the link as well. And so I think there's other things like building PBNs using expired domains. These are all ways of doing link building, but that's just a few different ways of doing it. It's a very, very in-depth thing, and there's certainly ways to do it, because some people say don't use PBNs, don't do this, don't do that. Well, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you use them? If I can use an expired domain, for example, that has 10 years worth of previous SEO efforts on it, can I do something with the power that domain's got to help me? 100% I can. Would I point it direct to my website? Maybe not. Would I point that to a guest post, which I don't own, but it links to my website to power that up? 100% yes. So you hear a lot of don't do this, don't do that, don't do this, don't do that. Everything kind of has its place in the industry. It's where you position these things is where the risk flies, because the job here as an SEO is not to get a penalty from Google, but we need to do enough work to make sure that we're getting the power and the relevance to the website. So SEO is manipulation, but people think we can't build links, it's unethical, or big bad Google's going to clamp down on us. Google haven't a clue what they're doing, and obviously it's in Google's best interests to say link building's the devil, and wait for Santa Claus or whoever to give you some good organic links. That isn't how life works, and you also have to take what Google says with a pinch of salt in certain instances, and certainly through testing and everything. And link building, so Google say link building is still one of the #1 ranking factors.
Yeah.
But you're not allowed to build links.
Yeah.
How does that one work out? So it's mad. But there's lots of different link building tactics you can use. There's cheats that you can do. So I've sometimes reached out to journalists. Let me show you, right? I'm going to show you. I'm going to share my screen again.
Okay,
and
great.
I'll show you I'll show you another wee quick trick. Now, it's not that ethical, but you've got to be creative when it comes to link building, right? So we all know the Liverpool Echo newspaper, right?
Okay.
Now, Liverpool Echo, and I've just got to put in copyright unknown.
Okay.
You'll be like, what the hell is it going to show us? Now, this brings up 800,000 pages on the Liverpool Echo, where the Liverpool Echo, under the image, are saying they don't know who the copyright belongs to. Hence why I'm searching for Liverpool Echo copyright unknown. Now, you can do whatever you want with any paper. Now, it says image copyright unknown. Now, I could potentially reach out to Charlotte Hadfield. I've got her Facebook, I've got her Twitter, I've got her email address at hand. And I can message her saying, Charlotte, you've used my image. There's no problem with you using it, but can you give me a link back to my website? Yeah. Now, Charlotte might tell you to bugger off or whatever. Now, anytime I've done this, I have pretty much 9 out of 10 times got a link. Charlotte is probably just an editor from the paper. She doesn't know what a link is or the value of it or anything like that. So there are little things there where you can trick people into giving you a link. And it's not that ethical, but there's little things like that. No matter what, you need to get links. Now, if that's what I have to do to make money and be the top at what I do, then I'll leverage any trick I've got. And there's so many different link building stories, tricks, little bits of manipulation, preying on the naive, call it what you like, that you can talk about. And some of them you might say, that's not for me. I'm not doing that one, and that's fine. But that is the level of what your competition are potentially doing. That's the level of deceit that goes on in the SEO world and stuff like that. And I think one other thing I'll show you. Let me just get Ahrefs up. So Ahrefs shows you how powerful a domain is and what backlinks are pointing to it. So, and I think I told you this story last week. Nigel Farage. Now, a lot of people say when I was talking about expired domains, big, powerful expired domains don't come up. Now, Nigel Farage, mep.co.uk, if we look at the referring domains on this, it has links from the Telegraph, the Guardian, YouTube, the BBC, Business Insider, Fox News, CNN, The Star, like every possible editorial out there. Now, for me to physically pay for that level of PR would cost me hundreds of thousands, if not millions of pounds to get that level of link juice. Nigel Farage stupidly didn't look after his domain name properly, and I was able to take it off him. Now, if I put in Nigel Farage, Craig Campbell, you'll see at the top there was an article in the newspaper basically saying I started redirecting it to Michael Barnier, who was his big rival at the time. Now, I only done it as a bit of a PR stunt and more of an education thing. And I basically went on to say, you know, I've done this, done that, and took his website off of him. Now, typically what I could have done, I didn't do anything with Nigel Farage's website other than put up what was already there. Yeah. But I could have used all of that link equity and pointed it to my own website. Now, loads of domain names expire from very, very high profile people. Even Google have let their domain name expire before. Now, can I use those backlinks to power up my own website? 100%. There's hundreds of thousands of pounds worth of backlinks there from Nigel Farage that I can point to wherever the hell I want to power up whatever I want. So that's where being creative and understanding how the internet works what links do and what the value is, and then be creative. And as I say, you might not want to steal Nigel Farage's website because, you know, I got absolute hell from his little fan club and all that kind of stuff, you know, calling me all sorts of names and all of that mad stuff. But again, it was more of an education for me to tell people at conferences, you know, expired domaining does work, and it can work to a very, very high level. So no one can sit there and say, nah, this can't be done, because I've proven it, tried and tested it. And, you know, to get someone like Nigel Farage letting his domain name slip, it was like 10 Christmases came at the one time from an SEO perspective. And it is what it is. So link building can be crazy. And you've got to go through a number of those different things. And there's a whole lot more as well.
Yeah, really interesting. Thanks for sharing that. That was fascinating. Okay, so last couple of questions from me, and then I'm going to open the floor to everybody else. SEO, we know, is often referred to as a long game, and I guess we're probably comparing that with the likes of PPC or paid social, but essentially, what sort of time scale should marketers be looking at when they're looking to track results? Are there any quick wins with SEO, or is it a long game? And what are we talking about when we say long game?
So long game, depending on who you talk to, is a different thing. Typically, for a lot of stuff, you know, I'm going to start off with the local stuff. You know, if you want to rank in the map pack, that can happen within a week quite easily if your person knows what they're doing. In fact, it can actually work in a few hours, believe it or not. So can you do that within a few hours? Yes. Now, when it comes to organic traffic, the map thing's easy. Organic search, I would always say give yourself 3-4 months, sometimes 6 to 9 months if it's a really competitive space. And it's not necessary. It's not necessarily that it's going to take that long. There is quick wins along the way. You know, you're going to go after different keywords, some really competitive, which are going to take the 6 to 9 months. There's going to be middle of the road ones, which might take 3 or 4 months, and there's going to be low-hanging fruit that has little to no competition, or what we would call longer tail keywords. And those are a lot easier to rank for. Those will probably pop into page 2 or page 3 based on good content alone. And these are the ones that you can go after first, just to get traffic moving and get things moving along a little bit, and work your way up through the list. So the time can take, you know, roughly those time scales, give or take, you know, the odd month or two, depending on competition. You know, if you're going to do something for like plumbers in London, it's not going to be 3 or 4 months. It's probably likely to be 6 to 9 months, just with the sheer amount of people and all that stuff. And probably people are years ahead of you in terms of link building, and they've just get far more content. So you've got a gap to fill. So there is no set answer. It depends on location. You know, trying to rank in Newcastle is a hell of a lot easier than it is in London. Let's just say that. And other parts of the world, you know, France, Spain, wherever you may be working with people, some of the SEO there is literally so weak, it's unbelievable. And, you know, that is something you need to take into account, especially if you're pricing for people and stuff like that. You're going to have to say, look, and just managing expectations. You know, you're going to need a bit more money to rank in New York's and Vegas and things like that. So, yeah, that's a rough timeline.
Yeah, no, that's really helpful. Yeah, it really clears that up, because sometimes when you think of long term, there's a perception that that could be, you know, a couple of years, or you know, that you know, there are more instantaneous ways to get the quick wins, but also there are, you know, it's not that long a timeline, is it, to invest time and resource and effort for the impact that you've been talking about there. Okay, last question from me, Craig, and then we're going to open to the audience. So softwares, I mean, I'm sure there are a million trillion options here, but what are the best software and tools to use when delivering an SEO strategy?
You're going to end up with a rake of different stuff here. But starting out, I think SEMrush.com is a very, very good tool for, you know, people, because you can do your keyword research on there. You can look at the competition. You can check the pay-per-click and organic search. You can do a site audit on there, you know, from a technical perspective. And there's a whole bunch of other tools on SEMrush. I think there's 40 odd different tools within SEMrush that can help you with your analysis and research and all that kind of stuff. So SEMrush is a must-have. One other tool that I feel is quite important, and I'm not sure how many of you marketers write their own content. I certainly don't. You know, that's something I outsource. Just I want to cut down time that I'm physically working. And I've got tools like Phrase, phrase.io. Now, that allows me, in fact, let me just show you. It's easier to show you Phrase, if that's cool with you, Lisa.
Yeah,
So Phrase, and I want to show you why I'm using Phrase. So SEMrush is pretty self-explanatory, and I'm sure every marketer under the sun has heard of it at one point or another. But Phrase is a great tool. Now, if I want to rank for something like SEO Glasgow, which I've got a document here, this tool basically creates my content brief for me. Now, I've already put in the keyword and all that kind of stuff, but what the tool's doing right now over on the right-hand side is analysing the top 20 search results for the keyword SEO Glasgow. Now, it tells me the word count. I just need to move this over because there you go. So the average word count is 1,200 words. There's 7 headers, there's 1 link, there's 8 images. It's got the amount of backlinks and all that kind of stuff. It's also got, if we, wait a minute, just to move over a wee bit more, it's got the outline. You've got the brief here, which is telling you stuff. It's also got people also ask. So, you know, these are all questions that are being asked on page 1 for SEO Glasgow. So we can integrate that into the content. It's telling you words that you can put in there, like SEO consultant, SEO strategy, search engine. It's giving you all these kind of different words that you can add to that content. It's giving you everything you need, including Wikipedia stuff. And it's also got the SERPs, and it's got topics, topical clusters, and it's got statistics. It should have statistics. Just let me see if it has. It's got headers, it's got questions, it's got statistics that you can throw into the content. And, you know, it's statistics that are pulled from the other things, but like 80%, 86% of people look up the location of a business on Google Maps and all that kind of stuff. So there's stuff like that that you can throw in. These are all what the top 20 search results are doing. These are the guys that are winning. But for me, when it comes to content, people are just garbage at content. You know, they go out there and they say to their people, just write me 500 words of content. You'll go and write me 10 lots of 500 words based on all these areas. Who the hell says it's 500 words? Every area has different levels of competition. And this is giving you the exact content brief that your content brief, your content writer needs. It's got word count, it's got the headings, it's got the questions, it's got statistics. That is what you hand to a content writer, not go away and write me 10 articles at 500 words each. That is where people are going wrong. So Phrase is really good for that. You do have competing tools like Surf for SEO or Page Optimizer Pro. These are 2 other tools that do similar to Phrase, but if you're outsourcing the content, for me, that content brief should form part of your overall content writing process and be something that your content writer gets. Your content writer can't go wrong with that. They know what to write. It's insane. So that is is one. SEMrush. I'm not going to say Ahrefs, which I did show you earlier, purely because that's just got a better backlink database, but SEMrush also has a backlink database. I just prefer Ahrefs. What else have we got out there? Phrase. Jeez.
I mean, that content tool is brilliant, absolutely brilliant. As you say, it's, you know, the whole brief is there written for you. But I guess one of the things that probably people struggle with is content writers on necessarily SEO experts. In fact, very rarely are SEO experts. So a content writer can write an amazingly valuable piece, really interesting, full of knowledge and insight and very customer centric. But are they taking into account the things that are being searched? Are they taking into account those key terms? And is that content going to reach the intended audience? And I guess that tool is a massive help with that.
Yeah, I think that's where many people go wrong, is just the content side of it, you know, not necessarily the link building or technical on the website. Websites can look nice and all that stuff, but that part is really a big, important part. But again, there's a million other tools that you could bring through that do all different things within SEO, link building, automation. There's so many of them, but again, I don't want to blind people and force them down a rabbit hole, because there's certain instances where you would use certain tools and certain bits of automation. So I don't want to confuse anyone. But SEMrush is definitely a must-have, as is Phrase. And if you were to ask for one more, I would use something like Quillbot. And I will just show you that one. Now, that's just if you're lazy, working in a low budget, or doing repetitive garbage. Then where is Quillbot? It's here. Now, what you can do is I could go to Fabric Academy. I'm not suggesting anyone else does that. But just say I like your story.
Yep.
And I'm a lazy bandit and I can't be bothered writing my own story. I'm going to steal your story, right?
Okay.
Now I'm not going to steal all your other stuff, but let's just grab this little bit of a story. You can do this for whatever amount of content. Put it through Quillbot. So if I just paste this content in here, and then paraphrase it, you've got 165 words on your content there.
Yeah.
This is going to rewrite your content, and I'm going to rephrase a lot of it. So it's going to rephrase a lot of stuff. It's now just went up to 200 words. Now I could expand on this content as well. So wait a second. So I'm just going to change it. So I can change the tone of it. I can shorten your content. I can expand it. I can be more creative and use different words. Now, what this does is basically rewrite the content. So if you're writing about your story, let's just say it was SEO agency Newcastle, and then you were going to write about SEO agency Darlington, then Middlesbrough, then all the way down to Leeds, York, blah, blah, blah. It's all going to start to sound very repetitive. But this tool helps you change it, and it stops it from, it passes. You can do the plagiarism checker on here. You can check the grammar. But what this tool is a paraphraser. There's only so many ways that your human brain will be able to write this story before it all starts to sound the same time and time again. Whereas if you use the paraphrasing tool, it will help make it unique if you're writing repetitive content, you know, saying there's only so many ways you can say we offer SEO courses or whatever it is. But this helps spin it all up and change it and paraphrase it, and still makes it very, very readable. And that is essentially what we want to do, is to expand, change that, and basically make it unique content. So whilst you have one well-written piece there, that could turn into as many other pieces as you want it to be using a paraphrasing tool. So Quillbot is that tool, and it's very low cost, and something that I feel, again, when you look at content, you're like, Craig, you know, if I say to you, right, your content strategy, we're going to rank for this, 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 and this, you'll be like, Craig, I can't fucking write that. You know, I'm getting fed up writing. I'm fed up with listening to my own voice here. You know, can we not get someone else to do that? You don't have to go to that cost. You can paraphrase. And it's not the same as spinning and all that kind of stuff. You know, paraphrasing works very, very well and is very, very readable. And it's just changing out a lot of the actual phrases and stuff. And it passes all the plagiarism checkers and helps you get a bit more from your content.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. They are so brilliant. And we'll pop all of them on the email when we send this out as well, so people can check them out. Right, we've not got long, so I'm going to ask a couple of questions that we've had in from the audience. So I'm going to start with Amy, and Amy said, what's the best way to find low-hanging fruits and long-tailed keywords?
SEMrush is the perfect one for that. It's one of those things that you do the research. So if you're looking for SEO, it's going to be very, very hard and very difficult. But there is what is SEO or how to do SEO. There's so many longer tail keywords, and as I say, there's they can be as long as you want, as long as there's still search volume on them. So for SEO, there'll be like millions of searches a month, and the more longer tail it becomes, the less search volume there's going to be. But as long as there's always search volume there, even if it's a couple of hundred, even if it's 50, on something, then why not go for it? It's going to help you. So SEMrush is very, very good for keyword research, and that can be for both very generic stuff and a lot more longer tail stuff. And they will give you all of the variations as well, stuff that you may have not even thought of and all that kind of stuff. So that's the one to use.
Excellent, good stuff. Okay, we've got a question here from Dan that says, how do you tap into an expired domain?
So you can go to the GoDaddy auction or expireddomains.net or whatever you want to look up for an expired domain, and basically go and buy it. Now, the key part of this process is when you buy it, go to a tool like the Wayback Machine and grab all the old URLs and recreate that expired domain, because that domain's expired, it's dropped out of Google's index, it's gone as far as Google's concerned. Repurpose it first, get it crawled again, indexed again by Google. All the links that were pointing to that expired domain have to kick back in. So the BBC or whatever it might be that was linking to one of the inner pages, that's why you're recreating the website. And then you can redesign it, do a redirect or whatever it's going to be. But the most important thing that people do is they just buy an expired domain name and they go and forward it on to another domain name, or they don't rebuild out all the old URLs and then they say it didn't work.
Yeah.
Of course it didn't work, because you just let all the old domains die. They have to be live, then they need to be redirected. So that's why that part in the middle, go to the Wayback Machine, rebuild it. It doesn't matter on what shitty template you use, just rebuild it. The URL is the most important thing, and that content. And then you can rebuild it or use it or redirect it or whatever. You just need to make it live. So that is
Brilliant.
how it goes.
Question here from Kate. So is there a golden number for how many times keywords should be included within your content?
So tools like Phrase or any other on-page tool will tell you roughly how many times you should put a specific keyword in a page. One thing I would advise to people when I'm training is do not write for the search engines. It's got to be readable. Human beings are reading this content, and if you're just going to repeat SEO course, SEO course, SEO course, SEO course throughout the content, you're going to sound like an imbecile. So there's got to be a balance of adding the keyword and it being readable. And a lot of people emphasize on the very specific amount of keywords and trying to just ram them in. So write for the user. If I want to rank for something, of course, I've got to mention the keyword several times throughout the content. And these tools like Phrase or Surfer or Page Optimizer Pro will give you a rough figure, but it's rough. If it says between 8 and 10, 7 might be fine.
Yeah.
You've got to throw it out there. And if it doesn't get to where you need to be, go back and tweak it. Don't overthink it. These are just rough figures and not something you need to be held 100% to. So just bear that in mind.
Brilliant. That's great. Question here from Anna, which says, I have a prospective client who wants a 6-month forecast of return on investment from SEO. Pretty sure we've probably all been there. How do you answer these types of questions?
I don't. I would just tell the client to pee off, because I think basically you're shooting yourself in the foot. There's a lot of things out with SEO that could impact the return on investment. That could be down to the client not answering the phone properly, not responding to emails in a timely manner, the cost of the products and all of that stuff. So I can't predict all of that, and I'm not even going to try. All I can really predict is I can get you rankings, I can get you traffic. If you can't convert it, that's your problem, not mine. And, you know, so I don't like to, because if you do say, you know, if you spend £5 a month with me, you know, I can make you 25 grand a month or whatever it's going to be after month 4, then they are going to hold you to that. And if you, now, I actually get fired by a client once, God's honest truth. I got a client up to, I think after 4 months, he turned over over that 4-month period, he turned over 250 grand from scratch with a brand new domain name. And he fired me because he thought it should have been 500 grand. So yeah, so don't shoot yourself in the foot. If a client asks you for that, they're not the right type of client. I would just be telling them how SEO works and to base their decision on what you do, on rankings, traffic, and stuff like that. You know, you can't control the pricing. If someone's going to charge £10 more than everyone else, they're not going to get as many conversions and might not get the return on investment they need. So I get that that's hard and you can fudge up stuff just to humour the client, but I've never been accurate with that stuff, so I just don't do it.
No, I think that's good advice, really good advice. Well, Craig, we are out of time. That's been absolutely amazing, so insightful, so useful on the tools, you know, giving us so much to go away and think about. So thank you so much for sharing your knowledge with us.
No problem at all. It's been a pleasure.
If people want to learn more, Craig, where can they go? Where can they find you if they want to check out some of your stuff?
You can add me on any social media platform. I've seen someone was asking about TikTok. I have actually got the answer to that TikTok thing on my YouTube channel as well. There is a video on how to rank in TikTok. But anyway, YouTube, any social media, or craigcampbellseo.com. Lots of content on all of those platforms.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. And thanks to everybody who has been involved and for all the questions as always. For anyone who didn't make it live, we don't blame you. It's pretty nice out there. So we'll be sending the recording out to all those who registered. And have a wonderful weekend, everybody. Thank you again, Craig, and enjoy your weekend too.
No worries. Thank you.
All right. Take care now. You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.